Welcome to This Week in BJJ, the only show running the gamut of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and running it live every Friday night.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of This Week in BJJ. I'm Budo Jake, and today is January 4th, 2013, first show of the year.
Jake, how has all 4 days of 2013 been for you?
It's been great. Here, as usual, with Budo Dane and also Asa Fuller. Thanks for coming in today, Asa.
Got it. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy New Year to all of you.
You too.
Asa runs the club Ace Jiu-Jitsu in Fountain Valley,
That's right.
California. So it's a new year, guys. How was New Year's?
It was good. We got a good time.
Mine was mellow. Today, though, my first training, I started out with a tragedy. After all the years of training, I've never had my string on my gi pants pull through. So I pulled it out of my bag and I was like, no! So I finally did the coat hanger trick, and it worked like a charm.
That's right. Coat hangers were good.
Yeah. It's not too difficult to do if you're at home and you have tape and all that stuff.
Right.
When you're at the academy, it's a pain.
And we were late, so I'm just like, side tie and go.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't have a coat hanger, you can also use a pin, like a ballpoint pin that kind of snap on your collar.
Oh, right.
Snip it through there and just take the end off and slide it around. It takes a little longer than a coat hanger, but it works.
Right.
I do it for the little kids. They do it all the time.
I'm sure, yeah, you guys have a kids program, so I'm sure you have
all the time.
tricks.
That's why I like the elastic little kids pants. Perfect. No strings. Take the string out, let them wear elastics. Perfect.
It took me years to figure out how that loop system works. It's really low tech, but it's kind of tricky how you have to pull on this side to get it longer on that side.
No, when it happened, I sat down my pants and I'm like, I can do this. I was drawing diagrams. I did it on the computer. It was amazing. But now I have it, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, don't put it in backwards where you're tying it behind your back.
All right, we got a few news topics to talk about. Let's check out the news. Hey, so have you ever competed in a Grapplers Quest?
Yes, I have.
How was it?
It was great. I loved it. It was back when they were doing the pro things, that Jeff Munson and Jeff Glover and all those guys. We did them here in California and the ones in Vegas too. They had a couple of the pro divisions. We also did a team division, which was a blast. We ended up taking second place. We lost to Mark Lehman's team, the Cobra Kai, in the final. But we beat American Top Team and the Machados. There was 4 guys and 1 girl, and it was a lot of fun. Had a great time doing that. So.
Cool. I want to talk about Grapplers Quest a little bit more, but I forgot to introduce the 4th guest on the show today. Got a little treat here. Acai berry wheat beer.
Oh, dang. Antioxidants and alcohol?
What would be more appropriate for a jiu-jitsu show than acai beer? Let's
That's
see
right.
how this goes down.
And
I don't suppose you guys have ever had it.
No.
I don't think so.
I'm somewhat relieved that it's not purple.
Thank you, sir.
I mean, I'm a big acai fan. You don't get much bigger than me. I eat it every morning. But acai and beer, I don't know. Very curious.
When you think about it, it's kind of like acai and granola.
Could be.
Yeah, it could be. Well, cheers,
Let's
guys.
try,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You.
Not bad at all.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah. Can certainly taste the berries. That's great.
It's kind of like drinking a bomb.
This should be
Am I the only one?
this should be the official jiu-jitsu beer, should it not be?
Should be.
Yeah. You got to talk to these guys. So getting back to Grapplers Quest, a couple weeks ago on the show, we announced that there would be no more Grapplers Quest events. That was what was published on a few blogs out there. I hit up Brian Simmons to try to find out if it was true. Didn't get a reply, so we just went with what we had. Now it's come out that he's not canceling all the events, but he is canceling one of them in January. I don't know what's going on with him, but he said he's been away in Peru for a 21-day pilgrimage. He's in the Andes Mountains and the Amazon jungle. Over the past 2 years, I started realizing that I was running too many events, and it was massively overwhelming me to the breaking point. I've been getting treated for various physical and mental health conditions since 2010 and making tremendous progress through various plant medicines, deep meditation, Reiki, massage, and yoga in pursuit of true happiness and wellness. So lots going on with him, but glad to hear that Grapplers Quest is not coming to an end.
I can only imagine the stress of running a nationwide event with as much attention as a Grapplers Quest gets.
Yeah. It went from a small little show like all the local tournaments to one of the biggest no-gi tournaments that was run. And I mean, he helped put on some of the qualifiers. Like the one that we did up in Canada in 2004. He was part of that. He helped run that program up there, the Abu Dhabi qualifier. He was kind of the one that kind of helped run the brackets and that kind of stuff because of his time doing his Grapplers Quest tournaments. But he's a great supporter of. I think his nephew has like autism or something like that, and it's a big thing that he supports and donates a lot of money to that. So I'm sure the stresses of trying to do that and keep everybody happy that works with you and that kind of stuff. It's a difficult process. I'm just glad it's not going away because he's a fantastic guy, really good guy.
In the more events, the better, right? The more opportunities people have to compete. He goes to a lot of cities that IBJJF doesn't go to, so the more the merrier.
Well, the neat thing too is he's one of the first guys that started really paying guys, paying for the absolute winners and the big belts and the nice swords and that kind of stuff. Not really the sword, that kind of wasn't his thing, but the belts and the paying of the guys, these athletes that are professionals. I mean, we got paid a lot of money to win that team tournament, which is a lot of thing. Paid for your trip to Vegas, paid for the competition. We didn't pay a penny to get there, and we left home with money. So, he's one of the first guys that really started doing that. A lot of them, just the tournament was for them making money and not really giving back to the professional fighters, Right. To me, I think like the black belts should be getting paid on a regular basis, and up in the lower belts pay their way, and that's kind of what it is until you get to that top level. And I know the IBJF started doing it this year. They had that in Long Beach. They had that
IBJJ Pro.
The IBJJ Pro, the Pro, and the Metamoris Pro. That was a neat deal with the different kind of format and that kind of stuff. But he was kind of the pioneer to pay and start paying guys. And there's a lot of guys that they really appreciated that. I know it was fun when they said I was fighting Cyborg. They said I didn't know who he was. We're in a Grapplers Quest, and they're like, well, who's Cyborg? Blah, blah. And everybody was, I'm not fighting. Everybody was, and say, hey, so will you fight? Yeah. In order for me to win the $3,000, I got to fight him. Well, I got beat 27-0. I was like, oh my gosh, who's this guy? Where'd he come from? And then I got him in Abu Dhabi. I called Kid Pellegro and I said, this guy needs to go. And I ended up fighting him in Abu Dhabi. Right. My second fight, I won my first fight and fought him in the second fight. And then Verdun tells me, don't worry, I'll get him, Ace. I'll get him in the final. And Verdun beat him in the final. But so, yeah, it was. But Brian Simmons is a great guy. Great guy. So.
Ace, I want to talk to you about your personal journey and stuff a little bit later on the show. Okay. But first, we're going to start a new thing. There's a lot of guys that get promoted every day around the world. Right. But the black belt promotion is a pretty big deal. So we want to start giving these people a little more props. So a few guys I want to congratulate on getting their black belts recently. First is Majid Hage. I've known this kid for a long time. He's he just got his black belt from his dad, Professor Majid. So Majid is actually the fourth. So Majid and his buddy David Kapsoff, both of Gracie Baja Escondido, got their black belts. Also Tom Vatican of BTT Long Beach got his black belt from Marcelo Perdomo. He's trained over a decade with Marcelo, with Chris Brennan, the Gracie Academy as well. Next we got Ben Carson. He was promoted by Sandro Batata and Julio Echevarria in Santa Cruz. And a few other guys that recently got promoted. Lucas Leitch promoted his first batch of black belts. Mario Barbosa, Yukito Isoda, and Drew Park. Finally, Tracy Goodell, wife of Mike Fowler, got her black belt too.
Wow, for her.
So, you got all these. It's unfortunate when you see guys getting older, when they're not competing as much. We got all this young talent coming in.
That's right.
The black belt division is going to be even more exciting this year than last.
Well, you implement a lot of the young Americans that are the wrestlers that are, the Baxters and all those guys that are coming in. You got, like the kid I competed against in the Abu Dhabi qualifier down on October 14th down there. Young, big, strong, 22-year-old former wrestler, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what's coming. And that's it. You got these guys that are, like the Sheshas and the Cyborgs that can move. It's no longer the big guys just rolling around. They can move like little guys. Normally you like to watch little guys because they're the most exciting. They either roll and do everything else. Big guys are push and shove, might get a takedown or something like that. But it's fun to watch the big guys roll upside down and doing sweeps and submissions. So yeah, it's the wave of the future. Bigger, stronger, faster athletes.
Yeah, that's right.
So
if you'd like your black belt promotion featured on the show, just email twibjj@BudoVideos.com. Include your date of promotion, who the promotion was given by, number of years training, etc., and we'll be happy to show a picture of you getting your black belt. Not only black belt promotions, but we've been getting, we always get people sending in videos of themselves competing and stuff like that. Got sent a video recently of a really nice flying armbar, but what I liked even more than the technique was the cameraman's reaction to his buddy's armbar. Let's take a look at the clip.
Woo! Yeah! Camera, son! Yeah! Yeah!
that's why I don't video. I've done the same thing. My buddy's like, how'd you get a video? Oh, and I forgot. And I'm videoing the floor the whole time.
Right. Yeah, that was great. You like flying attacks, Asa?
Yeah.
Even for a big guy like yourself?
Yeah, I mean it's fun to watch. Like for example, in the Abu Dhabi qualifier, the first round I had the fastest submission. I'm thinking, all right, man, I'm gonna get $1,000 fastest submission. Until Vinny Magdalena's pulled it off on Petapano. A flying armbar, 7 seconds. I said, how do you do a flying armbar no gi? I mean, you got to be kidding me. And this guy, he's a 215, 220 pounder jumping through the air like a little monkey, man. I'm like, and then it was funny. The kid that from Henzo Gracie's, he's fighting a UFC like a 170, 185, or really, matter of fact, he's a 185er. He goes, there ain't no way he'll get me in that. And he got him too in the open. Yeah.
Right. Remember that.
Yeah.
What was your submission that day?
I got an armbar. I went to the mount. I took the guy down, passed mounted, got an armbar from the mount. And it took about 1 minute and 7 seconds. So I was pretty pumped, and didn't last long at all. Second round, and that was it. So.
Hey, so you mentioned earlier about guys getting paid to compete. Recently, there was a tournament where not just brown belts, but purple belts were getting paid to compete. We're not talking a lot of money. It's a $500 tournament for first place, but for a purple belt, that's it's better than nothing. The tournament was called Jiu-Jitsu Battle LA. It was put on by a company called Want vs. Need, and there were some really good matches. It's a true submission-only tournament.
Right.
No time limits. Everything was legal. And there's also if you got a submission under 5 minutes, you get an extra $100. It's an 8-man invitational tournament. We got a few videos here to show you. The first one is Jose Fernandez versus Jacob Sandoval. This match only lasted 6 minutes. That's Jose on the left, Jacob on the right. Jacob trains with Cobrinha. Jose trains with Batata.
Current at the BJJ, you store it.
Yeah, really small mat space here.
Is that's where it was? Because I follow Edwin. I don't know how to say that. Yeah, I follow him on Facebook and refed his fights and stuff. And he was way back and white belt, blue belt, and I couldn't. I was like, where do you go see this? I mean, I wanted to go watch it. I was excited about seeing it.
Yeah, I don't think it was open to the public. It was a really small space, but they're working on I don't know what they're going to do with the final product. But yeah, it was certainly a very exciting event. This the guy you just mentioned, Asa, Edwin Najmi, took on Wayne Ashford. This match, don't blink your eyes because it's really short. Wayne trains with Cobrinha. Edwin trains with Romulo Bahal. That is Edwin with his back to the camera.
The guard. Oh, there it is. Yeah, his signature move. His triangle.
You can hear Romulo coaching him. Don't give up. Hold it there. He's going to tap. And that's
obviously slamming wasn't legal.
Right. And that was it.
Wow. Nice.
I must have watched that clip 10 or 20 times. It was just so fast. It almost sounded like a padlock when he locked his legs around. Like, boom.
That was a crazy setup. It's cool to see the field for competitions getting wider. It's not just necessarily one rule set or time limit, but get to see a bit of diversity out there.
I like the format of guys going for submissions. That was what I thought was so amazing in Shesha's run to the world title this year. He had 9 matches and 6 submissions.
Yeah.
At that level, I mean, that's just unheard of.
Yeah.
I mean, Hodger did it. I think he had 8 or 7 of 8 or 8 of 8. At one time, he got all submissions. And when I was a brown belt, and I was in the Masters division, so it's different. And I had 7 fights and 7 submissions. I was kind of like my big deal, to get that win. And I try to, every time I try to compete, I want to try to get a submission on people. And I don't like to see the guys there, I got 1 advantage point and I won. And it's like, really? Did you really win? I mean, man, come on, man. That's a judge's decision. He kind of gives you an advantage or not an advantage. That's why I love the submission game. It just makes it a lot more exciting. And that's what people want to see.
Absolutely.
People don't want to see a half, an advantage point. And they're trying to speed it up. In the IBJJF's defense, they give the stalling. And if you don't, hey, let's move it up. They'll stand them up or whatever and try to keep the game going a little bit more.
Yep, that's exactly right. Everybody wants to make jiu-jitsu more of a spectator sport, but people have to go for submissions to get it there.
It's a delicate balance between respecting what the athlete's doing and pushing the game along. So
right.
Yeah, and a lot of people these days are talking about submission-only tournaments, no time limits, but with 3,000 competitors in the Pan, you can't do it.
You'd be there for 7 days, 10 days.
That's right.
We were there till 11 at the Pans anyway, so.
Oh, I was supposed to fight at 5 o'clock on Saturday, I think it was, and it was 7:30, and we're still in the bullpen, and it's like, come on, guys, and that's the first time normally. Those IBJJF tournaments, you can set your clock by the way it runs. And that was the first time in all the years I've done Pan Am since when they were way back in Florida, and we were on time. And when you're a blue belt in Florida, literally you're nothing. I mean, that's just the way it is. they're cleaning the mat, and they're picking up the trash in the stands, and you're fighting for the open final, and it's like, come on guys, let's go get off the mat, hurry up. So,
right.
But so it's gone a long way. But when you have, like you said, 3,000 competitors, and I think this year the Pan Am's show to be like a 5-day event this year.
That's right.
Yeah, so it's going to be like an all week long. So that's pretty exciting.
Yep. Got one more match to show you from Jiu-Jitsu Battle. This is Hayam Ribeiro versus Dominic Damien. Hayam trains with Megaton, and Dom trains with Barrett Yoshida. That's Dom with his in the guard. The guy on the bottom on the left is Dom. Some of the coaches that were in attendance at this event include Cobrinha, Andre Galvao, Barrett Yoshida. That armbar came after an hour of competition.
Wow.
So Hayam, who won that match, was just exhausted.
Yeah, couldn't go the next round.
Mm-hmm. Which makes me wonder, what is your strategy when you go into a no time limit match? Do you try to just get it over fast, or do you take it slower?
I've done a few of those tournaments. Matter of fact, I did the Gracie tournaments, but they had a 30-minute time limit. Right. And Brandon Vera and I fought. We were brown belts. We fought to a 30-minute time limit, and he ended up winning 8-5 on points. And but going to the next round, he couldn't fight anymore.
Right.
He literally didn't fight the next round, and so I got to go on a fight and end up winning it because he said, "I'm done. I'm tired." This was back when Brandon was much bigger. He was like 250 pounds at the time, as opposed to being a 205er. He was a big guy at the time. But that's the only thing. You get some of these guys that go and they, like you said, have an hour match, and some guys have a 2-minute match. It's like, but that happened to No-Gi Rules for me. I was fighting. I submitted my guy first round. I was in the adult division. This is the year that Josh Barnett won. It was, and he ended up fighting Bruno Bautista in the final.
Yeah, 2009.
And so I go in there and literally I'm out there. Josh Barnett goes out and submits his guy in the first 5 seconds. They go, okay, so you're back up, and me against Bruno. I was like, wait a minute, I just got through fighting. And they put me right back out there. And they said, you got one match duration. I said, but that match was 30 seconds. It's Josh Barnett, for goodness sake. But so Bruno ended up getting me in the semifinal, and then he eventually lost to Josh in the. But when we were supposed to have a super fight at the Best of the West tournament, Josh Barnett and I, because I beat one of his best students, and he was just furious. I armbarred him at the Best of the West, and he goes, I'm going to get my student's armbar back, and blah, blah, blah. But he ended up taking a fight in Japan, so we didn't do it. So it didn't happen, but we're supposed to still have our match, supposedly one day.
That'd be a match I'd like to see.
Yeah. So when you go into a tournament like that, do you kind of like mentally prepare yourself to kind of say to yourself, this is going to last 30 minutes, so get ready for that long haul? Or
you know what? One of the things, being older and competing with some of the younger guys in the Abu Dhabi qualifier and those type of things, being like, when I won the Abu Dhabi qualifier in 2009, I was 12 years older than the next oldest competitor. So for me, it's like I pride myself in having the cardio, and I'm not going to be stronger than these guys. So I try to, if going 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, my whole goal is to outlast them. Because I'm not going to be. I love what I try to do is kind of give away one of my secrets, but I always go shake somebody's hand to like see how strong they are. And if I feel a grip, like, oh man, like the first time I fought Kevin Casey, I was like, and we were the same size at the time, and I shook his hand. I was like, oh my goodness. I remember telling one of my buddies, Chew, he said, hey, you got to let me know how much time's left because I'm not going to be stronger than this guy. I got to hope he gets tired. Right. You know what I mean? Because, younger, stronger guys. But that's my goal, is just try to really, that's one thing you can control. A guy might be better than you. He might have better technique, but the one thing you can control is cardio. Mm. If I go in there out of shape and I lose because I'm out of shape, that's my fault. But if I get beat because I make a mistake or the guy's more technical or whatever, then I can live with that. Something you can build on. Yeah. But cardio, that's your fault. So
getting back to Jiu-Jitsu Battle for a moment, this is that purple belt tournament. The guy that won the whole thing was Michael Liera. He trains with Andre Galvao at Atos. And while we don't have any of his matches to show you, I did a quick interview with him. So let's hear what the champ has to say. Okay, guys, I'm here with Michael Liera Jr. Michael, thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So for the guys who don't know who you are, can you give us a brief introduction?
Yeah, I'm 19. I train at Atos Jiu-Jitsu in San Diego with Professor Andre Galvao. I'm currently a purple belt. My dream is to be a black belt world champion one day. I'm working hard for it. And, yeah, that's about it.
And how long have you been training?
I've been training for about 6 years now, going on 7. Ever since I was 12. I'm 19 now.
Wow. And how many days a week, how many hours a day are you training?
Monday through Friday, I get here to the gym at 9 a.m. and then I pretty much leave at 9 p.m. and we train, drill, work out all within those hours. And then on Saturdays, I just come in, drill in the morning and do a workout, and then that's about it.
So it sounds like you're not going to school or working. Jiu-Jitsu is your career. Is that right?
Yeah, Jiu-Jitsu is my life. Yeah, right now I'm not going to school or, working or anything. I have a lot of support from my family, and they help me out a lot. And, they're just helping me of my dreams.
Well, that's awesome. You're able to devote so much of your time to the art that we all love, and it's paying off. Recently, you made some headlines at the Jiu-Jitsu Battle, which was an 8-man tournament just for purple belts, which is a pretty new thing for our industry, and you did a great job there. Tell us how it went.
Thank you. I trained really hard for this. When I first heard about the tournament, I got really excited. It was going to be 3 fights, and it's kind of hard to prepare for since you don't know how long each fight's going to be. But in my first fought Winston Ramos from Checkmat, who's a really tough competitor. I've been watching him for a little bit now, and the fight went just over 7 minutes, I believe, and I ended up coming up on the leg drag and finishing him from the back. In my second fight, I had a rematch with Edwin Najmi. I fought him a few months ago at the Samurai Open, and I finished him with the bow and arrow choke there. And then Saturday, I came up on the leg drag into the side control again, and it took about 17 minutes, and then I finished him with the inverted triangle. And then in the finals, I fought one of my favorite competitors to go against, Jacob Sandoval, and that was a war. It was 30 minutes. I was in a good position for maybe about 80 or 90% of it, and then at the 30-minute mark, I caught him with an armbar. But it was a really exciting match. I'm really excited to see the replay of the video.
And as you mentioned, there was no time limits. This was a true submission-only tournament. How did you feel about that rule set?
This was something completely new to me. For pretty much my whole jiu-jitsu career, I've been training for IBJJF time limits, points, advantages. We always here at Atos, we always like to go for the submission, but you also have to think about the points and the time limits since all the competitors are really good. So for this tournament, it was kind of cool just to go out there, think about, pure strategy was submit the guy. So, we didn't have to think about, coming up and getting points, anything like that. It was just, get the submission from any position. It didn't matter. And, it was really cool. It was really fun. It was probably one of the most fun tournaments I've ever done.
Is a no time limit submission only tournament something you'd only like to do once or twice a year, or do you wish you could always do that kind of tournament?
I told the promoters of the event if they ever had anything for me, I'd be really excited to do it. I wouldn't mind doing it a few times a year. It all depends. I'd be really happy to do it, maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
And let's talk about the training for the tournament. Like you say, usually you're training for IBJJF tournaments, which have a time limit and a lot more rules. How did you train? How did you change your training for this tournament?
Well, it's kind of different because usually when I'm preparing for a tournament, the whole team's going out there. All of Atos is, getting prepared for the tournament. But for this tournament, they contacted me maybe 3 weeks prior to the event. So as soon as I got the text message, I immediately told Professor Andre, and he geared all the training towards me in this event. So for 3 weeks, I was, I was the main focus in the training, and he helped me out a lot with the mindset of no time limit, only submitting the guy, some simple strategies. And one example is like usually we do what we call rodizio, where there's a few stations in the middle, and you go against someone until there's points or a submission, and then the loser goes out into the line and the winner stays in the middle. But training for this tournament, he made me stay in the middle until someone got submitted, which helped me out a lot in the tournament last weekend.
That's really cool that Andre Galvao directed all the training towards you. Not a lot of instructors would be willing to do that, but that's great. So Atos and Alliance are two really strong competition teams. And, of course, you represented Atos, and Jacob Sandoval, who you met in the finals, represented Alliance. How did that feel to you? Do you like that team rivalry? Did you feel like it was Atos versus Alliance in the finals?
Yeah, I always get excited when there's, tension and pressure between the competitors. It doesn't affect me too much. I never really think about it. During the fight, it was more of a personal rivalry between me and Jacob than anything, even more than, the two teams. But yeah, it doesn't never really gets into my head too much. I just go out there and try to do my best.
And after the match, did Andre say anything interesting to you?
I mean, he slapped me on the back of the head a few times, and he was really excited for me. But we were just all too. I for some reason, this was one of the most happy I've been about winning a tournament, even more so than some of the IBJJF ones. It was cool just, to have that bracket as the only one in the whole tournament. Everyone was watching that. So I think with me and everyone here at Atos, we were just really excited.
Yeah. And this is probably the first tournament where you got paid for competing. You won $500, which isn't a lot of money, but when you're talking about most tournaments not paying, it's nice. And what did you do with the money?
Well, I haven't received the money yet, but once I get the money, I guess I can eat lunch for a few weeks. I don't really have any plans. It's not that big of a deal to me. I was more happy to win the tournament than the money.
Right. So now tell me about 2013. What's next for you, and what do you expect to accomplish this year?
Well, this is going to be my second year coming back to the purple belt. Last year I won the World Pro Trials and got second in the Absolute. I won the Pan Ams. I took third in the Worlds, and I few smaller tournaments and won the Nogi Worlds all at purple belt. So this year I'm going to go back to the same division, and I hope to clear out everything. I really want to focus on the Absolute this year. I think it's cool when the smaller guys win the Absolute. So as a lightweight, I think it would be cool to take some of the Absolutes. But yeah, it's pretty much the same thing as any year. Worlds, Pan Ams, Nogi Worlds, starting the whole cycle over again.
All right. Sounds great. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today. Do you have anything else you want to say before we close?
I'd just like to thank everyone here at Atos. I couldn't do any of this without them. And also I'd like to thank thank all of my sponsors for all of their support. Show Your Roll, JiuJitsuFactory.com, Want vs. Need for putting on the Jiu-Jitsu battle. And thank you guys for having me.
All right. Keep up the great work, Michael. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, Jake.
So, Asa, there's a few more things I want to talk to you about after the break, but first, let's talk about some new products. I have a pretty broad interest in martial arts. These days I'm practicing jiu-jitsu all the time, but I've also done Aikido for a long time, and I like to check out what other people are doing. So I went to a seminar a few weeks ago, and this guy combined Aikido and Sambo to an art that he calls Aiki Sambo. So we filmed the seminar, and it's available on demand now on Budo Videos. It's only $10 for the whole seminar. We have a little preview clip here. The guy's name is Kenji Kanazawa, and he's been practicing Yoshinkan Aikido for a long time, and he also trained with Victor Koga, who's the main Sambo guy in Japan. So he has some interesting setups and interesting throws that you don't see in traditional grappling. And for an older guy, he can still move really well.
He's very spry, very spunky.
Was this in English, or was this all done in Japanese?
He speaks pretty fluent English, but there's also some Japanese students there, so he spoke Japanese a lot, and then we translated those parts. And the interesting thing is, they don't follow jiu-jitsu rules. So as we just saw, there was a scissor legs takedown.
Right.
You can't do that in jiu-jitsu, but it's still good to know how to do it, and he shows it. So pretty interesting video there. Aiki Sambo. Next up, one new product to show you from Scramble. They're a UK brand with a Japanese influence. These are Spats, which if you're training in any cold weather environments, you'll love these things in the wintertime. Put those on underneath your gi. You'll sweat a little bit more. It'll keep you warm. Getting more popular these days.
We're starting to see them in IBJJF competition.
Yes, they're legal in IBJJF too.
To wear them under your pants?
Under your shorts, yes.
Wow.
For like no-gi tournaments.
Oh, no gis, okay.
Yeah. I think they have to be black, though.
They have to be black, yeah. So it used to be only for women, but now they're for men as well at IBJJF tournaments.
Spats. They're not just for women anymore.
Yeah. Well, it keeps the knee burn, on the mats. The zebra mats, some are pretty rough.
That's why we're in no-gi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
And the argument can be made that it has a little more friction, less friction, more friction, so people have a harder time sliding
Slipping
out. All right, guys, we're going to go to a commercial break, then we'll be right back with an in-depth discussion with Asa Fuller.
BudoVideos.com, home of the world's largest selection of quality Jiu-Jitsu kimonos. Shoyu Roll, Storm, Tatami, Bull Terrier, Venom, and others. Styles from more than 30 top brands in stock and ready to ship. BudoVideos.com. You're only a click away from owning a new gi today.
Back here with Asa Fuller. Asa, a lot of guys might not know your gym, especially if you don't live in the SoCal area. You're not affiliated with a larger team, but it's really a diamond in the rough. You got some great guys at your gym. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and your academy?
Well, my background, I'm from Texas originally. So I was in the Marine Corps. I was out here in the Marine Corps, and a buddy of mine got me started in jiu-jitsu, and I was like, man, I know karate. You'll never get me to the ground, all this other kind of stuff. And after about 2 minutes, I was like, okay, this isn't fun, So I actually started with Club Luciano, way back in 1999. And I've been training ever since. It saved my life. I was, like a couple of the guys, I was overweight. My family generally is pretty overweight. And so for me, I was 267 pounds when I started jiu-jitsu, and worked my way all the way to do cage fights, and worked my way all the way up to a world champion, and won the Pan Ams at every single belt level, from blue all the way up to black. So that's kind of my claim to fame. And then I made it to Abu Dhabi, which for me was a big one for me. That's like a big feather in my cap. And actually got a win in Abu Dhabi. I was super excited. So, but our gym per se is we really keep the basis to become an overall martial artist, not just a jiu-jitsu player, not just a sport jiu-jitsu. We really want our students to be able to defend themselves, whether it be kids. We do rape safe courses. I've done them at Modern Day High School. I've done them for the Girl Scouts, that kind of stuff. And we want our students to be able to defend themselves if worst case scenario happens, a bully or an attacker or something like that. And that's what it's most important for us, is we really try to home in on being an overall martial artist. That's what we try to really push to our students. So.
And you have two of the finest teachers in the world, as far as I'm concerned. You got Shesha and Tim Cartmell.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about those guys.
Well, Shesha, his energy, being the young, and like we talked about earlier, he's humble for being the best grappler in the world. He's very humble. He comes in. What I think the neatest thing about Shesha is as big as he is and as popular he is in the jiu-jitsu world, he walks in and shakes every person's hand, from white belt to black belt, when he comes in and when he leaves. And I think, to me, that kind of respect is really, really neat. I mean, he kind of just demands respect as being the best grappler in the world, but he doesn't act that way. You would know if he didn't have his belt on, or you would know who he was in there, because he's smiling and having a good time. And just a fantastic guy to have, and a lot of good energy. And kind of the new wave of jiu-jitsu, the drills, and kind of the way the checkmate guy does it, which is a neat evolution for us to have in our gym. As far as Tim goes, like I said earlier, I think he's probably one of the best, if not one of the best instructors I've ever been around. I've been to seminars all over the world. I've been, Hoist Gracie, Hickson Gracie, Flavio Bearing, all these guys, legends in jiu-jitsu, and I put him right there with them as far as his detail and never missing a technique. It's just such fine point details. You'll show a move, and you'll see him show a move, the same move maybe a week later, and you go, oh my gosh, I really missed out. And it's great it makes you a better instructor. When you see somebody that's a better instructor than you, and you really work towards that, I think he rubs off on all of us, on all 5 black belts we have there, and just a fantastic instructor, and in my opinion, one of the best overall martial artists that you've ever seen. He's written books, Effortless Combat Throws. He's fluent and he speaks Chinese. He's lived there for 12 years. He does seminars all over the world, France, China, Taiwan, New York City, everywhere. And just a great instructor. And we're fortunate to have him. He closed the school down. It was right over here. And he was getting ready to kind of pull the plug. And my partner goes, hey, let's see if Tim wants to keep teaching and work with us. And he's been there. It's been fantastic ever since.
That's awesome. If you guys don't know Tim Cartmell, check out the rolled up episode that I did with him, and you'll see what an amazing instructor he has. Just because guys aren't world champions like Shesha, there's a lot of other talented guys like Tim out there. Great school. So why is it that that your academy has chosen to remain independent instead of becoming a checkmat gym?
Well, we actually had guys ask us to do that. Kleber asked us to be affiliated with him. Checkmat asked us to be affiliated with him. And it's like, because for a few reasons. One, not that it happens very often, but you go like we were part of Gracie Humaita, and we go to fight, and I'm in the adult division, and I want to fight the open. But I can't because Shande and Rafael Lovato Jr. are fighting for Gracie Humaita. So that's okay, and they deserve that. I'm not putting myself on that level. But if I want to go fight in the open, I have that right to do that. So I don't want to pigeonhole my students and say, hey, and give someone else credit for all the hard work we put in. We've got world champions too. And we're a little bit independent school. We've got adult world champions, female world champions. And if my students want to go do the open, I don't want somebody else telling me, whether it be Hoyler or Salo or whoever or Kleber or anybody else telling me, oh, my guy's going to fight the open and your guys aren't. And whether my guy wins or loses is not the point. If my person pays that money to go there and compete, he deserves to fight the open too. And that's the reason we said, you know what? We'll stay where we're at. We'll fly solo and let our guys go out there and compete. And in the kids' worlds this year, we won the non-affiliated trophy. We beat schools that have 3, 4, 5 teams together, and we went in there and had 24 world champions this year in our kids' world championships. It was fantastic, and that's our biggest draw is our kids for us. I mean, and that's the future. That's the future of jiu-jitsu is all those little kids, and we go in there and we'll have 25, 30 kids on a mat training. You were there when you saw our kids' class in their training when you were there with the rolled up episode. So that's to us is the reason we do it. You know what I mean? That, hey, we want a little bit of credit for what we're doing here too. We're working hard too, not just everybody else. So that's why we do it.
Have you guys received any blowback because you either unaffiliated or refused to affiliate?
It hurts a little bit when you go to do the bigger tournaments and stuff like that, or doing a team event like they have. And they've actually talked about doing some. Naga's talked about it. Grapplers Quest doing it again, where you actually have team events like checkmat against Gracie Baja, so on and so forth, and that kind of stuff. They're not going to put a Ace Jiu-Jitsu team, you know what I mean, in there. And so when we went there and did the Grapplers Quest, we went under Team Kleber. That's when we did the Grapplers Quest because he was a bigger name and we were able to get in there, and because of that, and we ended up taking second place behind all the other schools. So that was a lot of fun. But that's been the only thing that we kind of get kickback from. Where you don't have the big name, and if you Google Gracie Baja, there's one everywhere, but not for us. And we'd love to be able to branch out and expand, but we've only been open 4 years, so we've got our students up and coming, and we've got fighters up and coming, and our goal is to try to build and expand too, but not right now. Eventually, there's a time for that.
So you got your black belt from Kleber. Mm-hmm. Any stories you want to share of training under Kleber or reasons for the split?
Well, I wouldn't say it's really a split. He has his way of doing things, and he's very successful. He's done that, and so he kind of went his thing and wanted to do and then Chris and I, my partner, we decided that we wanted to do things our way, and it's not oh no way, I don't talk to you, don't see you. I see him, I give him a hug, hey, how you doing? And the same with the checkmat guys. They have their right to do the things they want to do. And, but Shesha is checkmat. I mean, that's his team. We don't make him fight under the Ace Jiu-Jitsu banner. He works for us and works with us and helps us train and helps train our students. But we could go in there and compete against guys that he's some of Lucas's guys or Zhao's guys. And that's what it's all about. It's about competition. Go out there and have fun and let them compete. There's going to be good guys at every gym, and some guys are more athletic and better than others. But it's about how much time you put on that mat and the details, and the guys train hard, and our guys get out there and give people a hard time, being a little school, so we're okay. So
you may have a little school, but you're a big guy. What do you weigh now?
I'm about 235 right now, 240. I like to fight the super heavy, so I'm a little overweight the holidays, you know what I mean? So I was out for almost 2 months with a back injury, and a buddy of mine, real dear friend of ours, his wife got diagnosed with breast cancer, and we were coaching our son's football team at school. Well, it kind of got thrown in my lap where I just said, okay, hey, you take care of your wife and I'll take care of it. And it really took some time away from the academy for me. And luckily we had some really good people there, helped to teach the kids and keep teaching when I was gone doing that. And I was gone for almost 2 months, so put the weight on me a little bit. So, but I like to be down because the guys in the ultra heavy are so big and strong. I mean, Shesha fights ultra heavy, and there's some guys that that are, I fought a kid that was from Alliance in the Pan Ams. It was about 265, and he was all muscle. And I'm like, wow. So, yeah, I like to stay around the 221s, the super heavies.
I'm curious, we're totally different weight classes. I walk around at 155. Tell me a little bit about what goes into a big guy's jiu-jitsu career. Because I see some of these guys that some of them learn all the techniques the light guys can do. They're berimboloing. Guys like Shesha can do everything a small guy can do. Some of the big guys, they rely on their strength and their size. Right. How has it been for you?
Well, I say this. I hear people say that a lot. And my belief is that, like, speed and quickness, to me, is a technique. You're going to be quicker than me 100 times over. That's just the way it is. That's just the way we're built. But I also think size and strength is a technique too if you use it properly. So, and I think that's why there's weight classes. And because, but I'll tell you this much: I would rather fight a 400-pounder than fight a 155-pounder, because they move so much faster and they can put their feet and stuff in places where I can't get mine on them to save. No way. You know what I mean? I can try to go put a butterfly hook in, and it's not going to get there on a 155er. Now on a big tall guy, 6'4", 6'5", I'll get it in there. But even Shesha, he has a hard time getting his foot in there on a 155-pound guy. So there's your positives and negatives. But for me, it's like I kind of get, people say, oh, he wins because he's big. Well, you know what? He's got to be good and big too. Because if size doesn't matter, then apparently it does. Because if you're saying he's just big and strong, that's the only reason he beat you. Because I used to tell me that all the time. People say, oh, Asa won. He won because he's big. He never plays a bottom game. I didn't have to. You know what I mean? I took a guy down, I got on top, I made him tap. Okay, no problem. But then I started pulling guard, and people were like, whoa, wait, where's this guy pulling guard? My number one submission since I've done jiu-jitsu has been a triangle. And people say, what? Yeah, more than 90% of my fights end in a triangle. So to say, he's only on top, no, not anymore. So my thing for me is I really base my game to do the most technical. Like, I've never played the deep half, and I'm trying to work the deep half to try to do it because you want to broaden your game. Now, I might not use it in competition, and I would never use it in an MMA fight because you get pummeled to death, but I would definitely, you don't close your mind to a technique, in my opinion, because the more you know, the better off you're going to be. Because what happens if you're a pull guard and you got the best guard passer in the world? Then what are you going to do? You know what I mean? You're in trouble. So
I think you made an interesting point. Wouldn't you say that, too, in competition, we see such a narrow slice of what someone's repertoire is?
Oh, absolutely.
It's the strongest segment, but wouldn't say it. Like Shesha, he probably has a really broad repertoire on the mats, right? Oh, absolutely. When he rolls,
he roll with white belts and purple belts and just go, roll all over the place and doing stuff that you're just like, wow, and you can't make that mistake. Obviously, the world or fighting at that level, you make a little mistake, and that could be the difference in getting caught, tapped out, or getting swept, or whatever the case might be, and that costs you a match. I mean, that's it. It's over, and you're going home and you're watching everybody else compete. And I've done that before, man. In a fight, I'm going in here, and the next thing you know, a guy pulls me and triangles me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? And it's over. It is over. Make one mistake, and then you drive home, and all you think about is, I want to kill this guy and then the next tournament you go out there and you just run through everybody. But you make mistakes, and people have bad days. And at that level, there's no way that you can make those mistakes. I mean, I like to reference Cron Gracie, for example. He was a brown belt. He went through, I think, 60-something fights in a row, submissions only. He goes to the Worlds as a black belt and gets submitted by his first round. Now, that doesn't mean he's not one of the best in the world. He just happened to make a mistake and go against the guy that won it, Sergio whatever. Sergio Moraes. I mean, he had a bad draw. One of the toughest guys as a black belt to go against is his very first black belt fight. Now, does that mean Cron Gracie wasn't sick? No way. When you submit 60-something people in a row as a brown, and I'm talking weight division and the open, guys my size or bigger all the time, that's pretty amazing. So, for when you get those type of deals and submissions and stuff like that, so you just got to make sure that you're ready to go. And if you make a mistake, but if you're training, man, who cares if you get tapped out in training? That's the whole purpose. I get myself in bad situations all the time in training. Try to work out of it, try to expand your game. Because if all I do is pull guard and triangle people, well, who's learning? Right. I'm not getting any better. Like you said, your game's not expanding, and neither are your students or the people you're rolling with. That's what we always say, leave your ego at the door. We have a mat etiquette thing that we make people read and kind of not sign, but they have to read over to understand that, hey, this is not a fight here. We're training to get better. And if you're not tapping, you're not learning. So one way or the other, you know what I mean? So, but so many people try to make it like a competition. You and I roll in the gym and it's like, oh, I'm going to win. Okay, well, did you win? What'd you win? What medal did you win? So
that's your trophy.
Yeah, exactly. So that for us is we really try to expand on game and roll. Try something different. Put yourself in a bad situation. So you got caught. Okay, great. Don't do it again. So,
Hey, so some gyms, the instructor pairs up the students and says, you roll with him, you roll with you, and pairs up the students when it's time to spar. Other academies let the students choose who they want to spar with. How is it at Ace Jiu-Jitsu?
we only do that with a brand new person. That would be, like I'll roll with a brand new person with some of our more advanced black belts, because generally the brand new people go bananas. And we try to explain it to them, hey, and I don't want them going with a blue belt and then next thing you know it gets escalated and they're going crazy and they're just trying to, because at our level, unless the guy's just some big bruiser of a guy that you can't hold him down or whatever, but normally you can, let him go crazy and after 30 seconds they melt in your hand anyway. So we roll with them and then kind of give them we tap them a little bit, then give them something and say, hey, do this and do that. And then once we see how they roll a little bit, then we would let them go in the open rolling. But we would never just throw a brand new guy to the wolves, basically, because they're going to try to go hard because they want to establish themselves as they want to be good and not knowing anything. Usually they just go crazy. So when we roll with them, we let them get to a good position and we get out of it and we tap them once or twice and that kind of stuff. But other than that, unless someone has discrepancy, hey, I don't want to roll. This guy's a little too big with me. He might hurt my ankle or hurt my knee or something. I have a bad shoulder. But we let guys kind of do their own thing.
You mentioned just now a big guy may be hurting somebody else. What is a common advice that you give to big guys that might be rolling with smaller guys in your academy?
Play on your back. Play on your back because, one, it's hard to keep up with a smaller guy when he's on top because they're faster than you. That's just the way it is. And so it makes you move and try to use technique to escape from them. Try not to use your strength because it is a technique. If you go to escape and you power out of an arm bar by jerking your arm out or whatever the case might be, and everybody says, well, that doesn't work. If you got out of it, it worked. Okay, so that technique works for you. It might not work for me, but it works for them. So I try to tell them to use technique that we've taught you, so that way you can always revert back to strength or whatever. But if you start using your technique and you continue to build your technique, when you have to use that strength that's there, it's going to be a lot better off when I'm here, I'm in a bad situation, now I've got my technique, and now I'm going to explode out of this. As to just go crazy and you burn your energy out in 30 seconds, because you can't go crazy full bore for 30 seconds, you'll be done. It don't matter who you are. So that's the thing. The big guys, I tell them, hey, play on your back and learn the game. It's easy to play on top and smash a small guy. Let them get on top of you. Let them go around your knee and the belly. Let them go on the top and just play your game. Defend yourself.
I like that advice.
Seems like it'd be a good litmus test for a bigger guy to test your
Absolutely.
to test your guard game, right? If you have a guy that can move faster than you can move your leg out there.
Yeah, because what happens when you get like when I fought Cyborg, okay, here's a guy 240 pounds that moves like a little guy. Now what do? I can train with 140-pound, 150-pound guys that move as fast as him. They're not as strong as him, they're not as heavy as him, but at least I'm used to the quickness. That's the biggest guy that I've ever rolled with that moves that quick.
Does Cyborg move faster than Shesha?
Yeah. Shesha's more, I shouldn't say faster. His game is more of a ball rolling, in my opinion, Cyborg. Where Shesha is more, he can move fast, but that's not his game too much. You know what I mean? He sweeps and everything else, and it's more of he's knee in the belly, Cyborg knee in the belly will flop to the other side and duck underneath and roll and keep rolling and upside down half and just a constant, like a ball rolling down a hill. He just keeps moving the whole time. Where Shesha will, look at the clock and pay attention and hold a little bit and a little more. I like to reference Shesha like Verdum almost. A lot more kind of a closer game, can play a lot of small man's game. People wouldn't think so, but they can. But Cyborg to me is probably, of all the big guys I've rolled with, probably the fastest big guy that I've ever rolled with for sure. As far as continual motion, there's guys that are quick and athletic and can jump like Orlando Sanchez. Don't think for a second that big guy don't move fast. He don't look at me because he's built like a truck, but he moves pretty quick for a big guy.
Yeah. So. In the whole jiu-jitsu world, whose jiu-jitsu do you admire the most?
Well, for me, mine was Rickson Gracie. I've rolled with him a few times, and I'd like to roll with him now as a black belt. I was a blue belt, I was a purple belt, and Flavio Bearing. Both those guys were just amazing. I got to do a private with him in Brazil when we were in Sao Paulo, and but Rickson, to roll with him, and it was just like, everybody says, what was it like? What was it like? Because he was in shape. It was like he does seminars now, and he's a little older, and he's not moving quite as well as he used to. And I don't even know if he rolls with the guys. But I was there, and there were 6 black belts there, and I was a purple belt at the time, and he went through everybody. And I mean in a matter of seconds. These black belts were getting tapped out, and he's like, I just want you guys to show you that it's not easy for them either. And I can't even explain. Like I said, okay, I'm a tough guy, I'm strong, I'm going to hold him, and he's never going to pass my guard. I'm going to show him that I'm really good. Man, he was past my guard mount, and I was tapped out no matter. And I was like, and people say, what did it feel like? And for me, like running water. It's like you just can't explain. And I know guys that trained with him up to, about 7 or 8 years ago, world-class guys that said, man, I can't believe what it felt like to roll with a guy like that. And to me, that's the one that I admire the most. And what I like about his game, I went to him one time and I said, Hickson, good luck for you and your son today. This is awesome. Congratulations. And he says, I don't know, my friend. He goes, do you come here because you're lucky? He goes, did you win your gold medal because you're lucky? And I said, no, sir. And he goes, I don't believe in luck. He goes, we came here to make people tap, and if we don't make them tap, it don't count. That's when he ended up beating Octavio Souza in the final. It was amazing. They were brown belts, amazing match. Octavio Souza was winning. Crone came back, ended up mounting him and tapping him. One of the most amazing matches I've ever seen. And Hickson, he truly believed that. I just think he talks through you. It's just like amazing. He gets into this deep conversation, and it's like whole nother episode. It's just fantastic. And those who haven't got to roll with him, I feel sorry for you. It was a once in a lifetime deal. That's Tim's deal. He's like, I never got to roll with Hickson. I can't believe you got to roll with Hickson.
So you say rolling with him was amazing, but did you learn anything from the experience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When we went there for that seminar, it was his game and it was his way of thinking for me. Like what really put me to really say, okay, when I'm going to this jiu-jitsu match, is that it's me and him, and I've got to put like almost like an out of a body experience, kind of where you're like, okay, I am, and this is what I got to do, and you got to be so driven mentally. The mental toughness that he prepares himself is, to me, for whether it be MMA or jiu-jitsu, the same. That's to me the most amazing thing, is that he truly, the mental game is where he is the toughest, I think. And that's the one thing I took away from it more than anything, is that he sit there and talk about how he prepares himself mentally, and like when he goes into MMA, he truly believes like it's worth dying for. I'm okay to die in here if I don't come in here to win. This is how passionate I feel about this thing. And obviously it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way he makes you feel. And and to me that was amazing to be part of that.
Someday, next time he comes to in town,
worth it.
Try to make it happen.
Worth it. Roll with him.
Yep. All right. Well, it's that part of the show where we take a look at a viewer's email. I'm going to have you participate in the answer here, Asa. Let's take a look at the mail. Every week we get questions from viewers. If you'd like to submit your question, email twibjj at BudoVideos.com. Yeah. So Thomas450 says, first of all, thank you for the fantastic show. I learn so much every week from you guys. I'm 35 years old and just signed up at a BJJ school. I'm going 2 times a week, and I feel like I'm progressing too slowly. Will I ever get good at this rate? What do you say, Black Belt?
Well, you can still get better. You're not going to get as good as a guy going there 5 days a week. I mean, that's obviously the more time you put in the mat, the better you're going to get. But if you can only go 2 days a week and you're able to practice moves, like I call it self jiu-jitsu. If you learn to move, do it at home on your carpet. Do the move you learned. Do an armbar, invisible armbar. You're doing it yourself.
Would you say to do it on your wife too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Your kids, whatever. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
There.
If you can do it, that's how you get better. Because if you can only go twice, and being a family, probably at 35 years old, maybe he has a family, maybe he doesn't, but you have to find an equal balance. In order to do that. So if you train at home and you're able to do things that you've learned, you're going to get better faster. But if you only do what they do 2 days a week, obviously you're not going to progress as fast as somebody going 5 days a week.
Yeah. My experience, and Dan, we talked about this before, 2 times a week is just maintaining for me. Like, I don't feel like you get worse, but it's a very slow progress. 3 times, 4 times really ramps things up, and 5 times is, wow, you're flying.
Right.
Yeah, it takes 3 times a week, in my opinion, at least anecdotally, to actually say on a maybe week-to-week or month-to-month basis that, yeah, I'm better than I was last month.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one thing that we started last year, Dana and I, is having a day where we do nothing but drill. Just drill. And that's made a big change. Because, in a regular class, you might learn a new technique every time you go, but you don't have necessarily time to actually ingrain that and make that muscle memory.
And see, what we do at our gym, I think is what separates us from a lot of places, is that because there's people that maybe only go 2 days a week, we teach the same technique all week.
Yeah.
So if you only come 2 days a week, you're getting what everybody else is getting that week, but you're not drilling it. So if you're drilling it at home, you're learning what there. So if you come back the next week, you're getting the same thing everybody else is getting for that week. And we didn't really start doing that till Tim got there. Because we'd show a new move every day, and look at what we know, look what we know. Well, that's great. End of the week, tell the guys to show you the moves they learned all week. Wait a minute. So when you do it all week long, your guys are, they get it. When they do it about 1,000 times by the end of the week, they remember that move.
Yeah, and to expand on that, when I was training at a school in which they showed a different technique every class, at some point I made this sort of like mental assertion that, you know what, I'm just going to grab the one that I like the most and that's what I'm going to focus on that week. So I did that anyway.
Right.
Just as some sort of like mental self-defense.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, that's the reason we do that. People, you know, and like I said, that was something that Tim brought over. And he says, how do you expect your guys to retain something that you show them 5 minutes and they drill it for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you show them another one and then you show them another one the rest of the week? They're going to be mind-boggled. So you showed them 40 techniques and they learned nothing. Or we show them 4 techniques and we do it all week long and they got them. By the end of the week, you can say, hey, what did we learn? And boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And that's been fantastic for us. Our students have grown, and we started doing with our children, or with the kids program. And our kids program has taken off because of that, because they're able to retain it. Okay, by then we're working on takedowns this week. By the end of the week, they're doing takedowns. And that's the neat thing. And it goes that way for the adults too. So to me, I think that's a great way to get your students, because you have to try to cater to everybody being a business. And if all you do, what if this guy done 2 weeks so he never sees armbar? You understand what I'm saying? So if he only comes 2 days a week and they're showing different moves all day long, he's missing it. So, but if you're showing the same thing every week, you know, not every week, but the same move all week long, every 2 days he comes, he's getting the same thing 2 days a week. Plus, if he goes home and drills at home with his own mats or in his bedroom or whatever the case might be, he'll be able to get better with everybody else.
Sounds like the way to do it. All right, we're going to take a break, then we'll be back on the mats with Asa. What are you going to show today, Asa? And why?
Some self-defense. Like I said, we'd like to do that. We'd like to expand on it. Jiu-Jitsu was based on self-defense, and not just 2 points and you win. It was based on self-defense. So that's the one thing I'll show today.
All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Asa Fuller.